Bad Views, the podcast that asks if great beer makes bad movies any better. Or that's usually what we do. But we're doing something a little bit different today. As you probably know, if you don't, I have serious concerns and questions. Everything has changed in the last couple months. So, as you probably are aware, we watch a lot of movies. Sometimes at home.
So many.
Sometimes at friends' homes. And a lot in the theaters. Today we're going to talk about movie theaters. What has happened over the last couple months and maybe what's going to happen going forward? Question mark. As always, I'm Max, joined by my co-hosts, Ryan and James.
Hello.
Hi.
So let's start this off with just a basic question. What's the last movie you guys saw in theaters?
I have it right here, actually, sitting next to me on the couch. So I believe the last movie I saw in the theater was Gretel and Hansel by Oz Perkins.
Oh, that's a great movie. I watched that during quarantine.
It's very good. Yes, highly recommended. It's super slow burn, but gorgeous. A lot of interesting ideas visually. Super moody. And Alice Krige, who is from Silent Hill, plays the witch. It's an excellent movie.
You know what I think the last movie I saw in theaters was? Ryan.
Oh, God, I didn't like that
Rise
tone.
of Skywalker.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No. You saw Color Out of Space.
I did.
Oh, okay, that's way better. That's a million gazillion times
That is much better.
Yeah.
I'm still angry
God.
at you for making me see that.
That's the correct response.
Yeah.
No, thank you for... you should be angry at me because you went and saw it a second time.
I did.
We'll
we love each other.
We'll get to that in a second. But as far as new releases go, Color Out of Space was my last theater movie. But if you want to get technical, it was Leaving Las Vegas at Uncaged Fest this year, which was super depressing.
That's really
on.
not like a movie theater, though.
Yeah.
That's like a party.
Yeah.
That happens to have movies.
Fair.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
So either way, it was Nick Cage related.
Okay, yes.
Indeed.
If you haven't been closely tuned about what's been going on with the film industry the last couple months, here's kind of a summary of events over the last, 5 months or so. Earlier in the spring, they announced that the newest Daniel Craig James Bond movie was going to be delayed like a year.
Mm-hmm.
And this was before any of the lockdown quarantine stuff happened. And then it was announced that Fast and Furious 9, whatever the title is also delayed a year, which if you're scratching your head over that, those are billion-dollar movies now. So
yeah. Oh yeah. They're not going to they're not going to release that to anything.
No. So they, understandably delayed that. And then the lockdown happened. So no one was going to see any movies anywhere. Shortly after the lockdown, Alamo Drafthouse declared bankruptcy, unfortunately. So those are all closed for a while now. There was a huge outbreak in rentals at homes for people wanting to see new content and not but not within Netflix or Hulu and such. So Trolls World Tour was the big family-friendly movie for all the kids stuck at home, and did great numbers. And that was a great concept because you could rent movies, pause them, and have your own snacks, go to the bathroom, not have to worry about missing anything or whatever.
The movie revolves around the children.
Yeah. Yeah. AMC was like, fuck you, Universal, we're not going to show your movies anymore. And then they quickly started eating their words, as then there were rumors that they were going to file for bankruptcy, but they took out a lot more loans. And
I'm on AMC's side on this.
Really?
Yep, 100%. 100%.
Elaborate.
Universal has a written contract that says they would not release their movies on anything except to the theaters. Universal, because they weren't mad at Universal for releasing Trolls World Tour. They were mad at Universal for coming out and saying, we are going to do this with every single movie we release going forward. And AMC was like, no, you're not, because if you are, then we're not going to show your movies in our theaters.
Per the contract.
Yeah, okay, that makes a little more sense, because I've been watching a lot of YouTube the last couple of months, and usually you get the trailer ads or whatever.
Yep.
And I was like, why are you showing movie trailer ads? No one's going to the movies. And at the ending, it was always like, available on digital or available to stream starting da-da-da-da-da.
Yep. So if Universal would have come back and said, we are going to do this, but we are going to cut the rates that we charge movie theaters for our movies in half or by X percent, I think movie theaters, particularly AMC, wouldn't have had a significant issue with it.
Yeah.
But revenue at theaters is driven by those first 2 weekends of a movie being
ticket
out,
sales.
of ticket sales. So one of the things with ticket sales is that production companies are incredibly unfair to the actual theaters you go to as it relates to the amount of money that they get on a ticket sale for the first 2 weeks.
Yes, you've mentioned this before. Both you and Ryan have worked at theaters in the past, and you said that one of the reasons why concessions are so highly priced is because that's where the theaters get a lot of their money from.
That's where they basically get all of their money. So it's something absurd. Like, I think some of the contracts I've seen in the past are the movie theater gets 2% of the first 2 weeks of the ticket sales. 2%.
Yeah.
So just look at the numbers of how movies go. It's like a 60% drop and then a 60% drop, and then after that they start getting like half or more of the ticket sales. But it is the overwhelming majority of ticket sales for movies happens in the first 2 weeks anyway.
Right.
So, so that's why when you go to the movie theater, you pay $10 for popcorn, because they aren't getting almost any money from the ticket sales themselves.
For the movies.
So when they said, well, we're not going to show, we're going to do streaming services, they were like, all right, well then, like, they can't function. Movie theaters cannot operate if streaming sales come out. This, particularly with children's movies. Children's movies drive an insane amount of business.
You have like birthday parties and
concessions. And, like, children
love
buy concessions.
Yeah.
I love it too.
Yeah. No, but like, they drive concession sales. They do. So I was with AMC when they were like, fine. If you're not going to honor the contract you signed with us, then we're just not going to show your movies.
Yeah.
I have no issue if they want to renegotiate the distribution costs or the movie ticket ratio that's out there. That's fair. That's fine. But for Universal to unilaterally be like, we want to have both funding streams maximized without any change is unfair to movie theater businesses.
Yes, I will agree with you with that. And the fact that AMC, the biggest theater company in the United States, was throwing such a fit, understandably so. And this was like within the first, I don't know, this was April. I feel like this discussion was going on, and we're in July now, so a lot more stuff has happened since then. So not long after AMC, when things were warming up and rate numbers were going down, AMC was like, oh, you won't have to wear a mask when you come to theater. And they got dragged to shit, just like they did a couple years ago when they're like, oh, no, you can text during movies. It's fine. We want how do you do, young kids? We know you like the texting.
Yep.
And people were just like, no. And then
not.
they retracted that statement and such like that. All the while, Christopher Nolan, oppressive filmmaker whose movies are technically very impressive, but very few I want to watch more than once, other than a handful of selections, was like, Tenet will only be shown in theaters. And today, it was announced it's been postponed indefinitely.
Yeah. So I will, again, give him a little bit of leeway on this, just knowing some of his other films, right? Like, he filmed the first 12 minutes of The Dark Knight is filmed in, like, true IMAX.
Yeah, both that and Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, or Dark Knight Rises. So I remember going to see. We went and saw a specific movie. I don't remember what we went and saw, but we went to an IMAX theater because it had
the 6-minute trailer.
The 6-minute trailer in actual true IMAX. So we went to the Henry Ford around.
Oh,
here,
yeah,
which is one of the few true IMAX theaters.
I've seen all three of them at that theater.
Yeah, with Jordan. So I don't know if Tenet follows that same thing, but I understand that he's like, I have done a lot of technical stuff that only works in a movie theater.
Yes, and that's kind of where I want the discussion to go. Obviously, we're in July now. Things are quote-unquote opening up again, and it's more of, when are we going to be comfortable going to the movies again? And also, what movies are worth going to the theater again to see? Because over the last couple of months, I've watched 120 plus movies. A lot of them would be great to see in the big screen. Some of them are movies I've seen in theaters and I've since rewatched at home. And kind of thinking about this, being like, well, weighing the risk versus the theatrical experience. It's like, I remember going to see Death of Stalin. I went and
So
I was trying trying to find a theater that showed it.
Yep.
And I ended up going on Good Friday at like 11 in the morning because that was like the only convenient showing I could get to. Great in theaters. Do I need to be in theater to see that movie to enjoy it?
Probably not.
Not at all.
Nope.
Not at all. However, of a Christopher Nolan film like Tenet or
Like Gravity.
Fucking
Gravity. Okay, so
So
in my own thing,
good.
would I want to go to the theater too in the next couple months? Denny Villeneuve's Dune.
Yeah.
That will be the one movie I want to see for the rest of the year in a theater. It's supposed to come out in December.
Mhm.
Will it? I don't know.
Who knows?
Who knows?
So,
But that will be like, that's something I want to go and see it on the big screen in that immersive sound system and stuff like that.
yeah.
And
You know, the question I have for theaters is how, and I don't know the answer to this, none of us do. How tight are theaters on their margins now that most of them have converted over to reserved large seating?
Mm.
Right, so those rows are socially distanced away from each other.
yeah,
Right.
they are pretty spacious.
They're
You
pretty
can have
spacious.
you can have your recliner all the way out, and someone can still walk
Still
by.
walking. So front to back, you're safe. It's the side to side issue that you really run into.
Yes, I remember seeing a picture of like an orchestra hall
Yeah.
in Germany where they had just taken individual seats out. So they from a front to back they were fine, but
Yep.
it was like one seat, space, two seats, space, one
Right.
seat. So
Which is what I thought. I was like, okay, they can do that. But in order to do that in some of these theaters that they've already cut down from 150 person theaters to
125,
100,
110?
110 less. And then they're going to cut it down further. How
say
much-
80,
80? Like how low can they really
75 maybe?
How low can they really go on these and still have a viable sale to be able to keep the theater running and open and capable? Or do people make it up with concession sales because
Concessions.
they're finally like excited to go to the theater again, or what? I think that
Or just raise ticket prices itself.
they could be. They could just be like, look, if you want to come see this, it's $20. Like, sorry, people in New York, it's $40 for you. But like, you know, I mean, around here, a movie ticket at night is
Usually 10 to
Let's
15
say
bucks.
10 or
About 10 to 12
$10
is
to
most
$12.
common,
So,
yeah.
would you go if movie theaters were if it was $20? Probably go see Dune.
Yeah.
But you and I, Ryan, I mean, I'm not going to go see as many movies as I would normally want to see if it's $20 or $25 to go see a movie.
Mhm.
So that's one of the reasons I wanted us to have this discussion, as I think within the three of us, there's a very good spectrum of, under normal circumstances, when do we go to the movies? Ryan, you go all the time.
Yeah,
All the time. There's a theater half a mile from your house here,
at most, yeah.
and you've gone to see movies multiple times that James and I are just like, why?
Mhm. 'Cause
Why are you going to see BVS a second time? You don't
two
need to see...
reasons. One, it's close, and two, I just fucking love going to the movies.
Exactly.
I go-
On the other end of the spectrum, you have me, who I don't go that often, but I like going to a lot of like niche screenings of stuff. You know, like I'll go see some classic anime at like the art house theater, or you know, weird John Carpenter stuff on the big screen or stuff like that. So I still like going, seeing like, you know, some of the larger stuff, John Wick, and you know, Wes Anderson films, stuff like that. You know, well-known movies, but I'm generally a little more choosy on what I like to go. And James, I like to think of you kind of somewhere in the middle between the two of us.
I'm more towards the Ryan side because
Yeah.
I see almost all your first run showings with you, Ryan.
Yeah,
Like,
frequently.
I see probably 95% plus of the movies Ryan sees, whether it's the first or second grab with Ryan.
Mhm,
So,
mhm, mhm.
And then I will also have movies that I will see multiple times. I believe I saw Into the Spider-Verse 7 times. In the
Yeah,
movie
I saw it at least 4 times in the theater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I saw that movie a lot.
Oh yeah, it was great.
But no, so to me, it's a question of, it's gonna be like you, Max. It's a question of the movie, and the other side of it's a question of cost in some sense too.
Mhm.
Whether or not a movie is available on streaming is less of an interest to me. I'm very much like Ryan. Like, I like to see movies for the first time in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
If the one caveat to that is I'm wondering if the rollout of drive-in movie theaters across the country, to include Walmart supposedly starting to open up some of their parking lots for weekend drive-in theaters.
Interesting.
Is going to have an effect where you'll start actually seeing first-run movies show up in drive-in theaters again.
I'm on board.
So
with that.
this is a great segue. So on the very first day of summer this year, June, whatever the hell that was, the Ford, Wyoming Drive-In Theater, which has, I guess, the reputation of being the world's largest drive-in theaters with 5 screens, was showing Evil Dead at the drive-in.
That's incredible.
You've never been to one before, right?
I'd never been to one, no. I remember like when I was very, very young, my mom and my sister and my cousins were planning to go to one, but it kind of fell through. I think the weather was shitty or something like that.
Yep.
So for, I think it was like $11.75, it was a double feature of Evil Dead, the original Sam Raimi.
Yep.
And I Drink Your Blood, which was like one of the first NC-17 for violence movies, not just for sexy times. There was sexy times, but there was also like...
As any old horror movie, there were sexy times and violence.
Yeah. Animals were hurt during the filming of that movie. Mostly just rats. But either way, you could tell like, yep, there you are, shooting those rats.
Okay.
And it was packed. Like, to get into there, it took me almost an hour, just like lines up of cars. Didn't help that there was construction at the main road, so...
Cars are just inefficient.
Yeah, I was hijacking your live updates, Max, because you and I were kind of talking about, I was like, hey, how's it going? I'm in several like circles of like horror movie groups on different social medias, but one of the ones is just like all local people in Michigan. And some of the people there are like, oh, shit, I'm out at this thing, out at the Evil Dead at the drive-in. I was like, oh, yeah, I got a friend there. And then I was like, oh, it's bad. It's real bad out there. And the guy's like, I just showed up, and holy shit, it's terrible. Just because there were so many people trying to get in.
Yeah, the weather was so nice, and there were 5 screens, all of them double features. And there were so many different ones. One was... The Invisible Man and The Hunt. One was the B-movie horror, or not B-movie, but, grindhouse horror. Like, when I got to the window, the guy's like, you're here to see Evil Dead. And I'm like, yep. One had, like, Bad Boys 3 and I think Bloodshot.
Okay.
Oh, the Vin Diesel
one?
one?
Vin Diesel movie?
And then one was Sonic the Hedgehog and some other kids movie.
Huh.
And these all started at like 10 p.m. And
yeah, it has to be dark. That's the
it
problem
has to be dark.
You're in Michigan, so it takes a while for it to get dark.
Yeah. So but not only like are we privileged to have this close drive-in theaters, because I guess there's only 300 of them in the U.S.
Yeah,
as of like 3 or 4 months ago. But there's been a lot of like pop-up drive-in theaters. There's been some at some local parks. One of the concert venues, like they've been setting up in their parking lots.
Okay.
Now this Walmart thing. So I'm kind of thinking like, are we going to see a resurgence of drive-in theaters?
I honestly think so. I think it's going to happen. I think it's a comfort level that people have, right? So if you're going to go to the theater and you just get to be in your car, you know that your car is clean. You know that your car has been it's clean to you.
Clean to you,
right?
You've been exposed to whatever's in there.
Whatever's in there, right? And there's a level of comfort in that in and of itself.
Right. Plus, you can drink a beer in your car.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Correct.
There's a couple things that you can do with it, right?
No,
put your feet up on the dashboard.
Yeah, Mike. What I'm curious about with drive-ins is if they start doing certain things to make them more technologically around or updated. Like,
right?
Are they just going to broadcast the audio on like Bluetooth, so you can just put a Bluetooth speaker in your car?
Oh, okay. Because when I was there, they usually have like the little speakers next to where your car's going.
Yeah.
But they had those kind of like covered in bags. You couldn't touch them.
Right.
So you had to turn in your radio.
Right.
Like old school.
Which is a problem because your battery goes dead if you keep doing.
Yeah,
that
you have
too
to
long.
On and off.
You have to have
cycle,
your engine
but,
running, but that could be loud, and I don't.
Well,
know
I mean, like with my engine wasn't running, but just having the battery itself on, just to power the radio. But
right, but
that itself had some issues.
So I mean, I think that there's an opportunity for them for theaters to put a couple of transmitters around or do something along those lines, or like, because really, when's the last time you like went to Radio Shack and purchased yourself a transistor radio that you could take in your car with your best girl and go watch the film.
Yep.
That runs on 4D batteries.
Right. I mean, it's. I'm saying it in a very facetious manner, but it's an actual question. I think. Like, there's, you could probably get a radio app if your phone has a internet radio or something. Because I mean, they could easily do it that way too, right?
And
Yeah, for sure.
That's honestly probably the way that they will handle audio if things tend to go a little better for drive-ins, and I think they will for drive-ins.
Yep.
But that's exactly it. I think is the app approach,
Right.
because then you just push that audio data to everyone who's on the app,
Right. And they just use it.
and then they can use GPS data from your phone to tell whether or not you are in the drive-in, because they don't want people who are not at the movie to have the audio, right?
Yep.
Stuff like there's a lot that can be done with the app. That's where the audio is going to go.
I mean, they can even do people who give the password out, but whatever. I mean, there's a level.
You put it at the bottom of the screen, kind of like turn your radio to
or when
93.8 or
when
whatever.
you get your tickets that come in, it's like the password for the app tonight is
Yeah.
dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
And it's, again, the GPS portion of that is critical too, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can't like take a picture of the password and just send it to somebody who just for whatever reason wants to only listen to the movie. Or
Right.
something
Yeah. I
stupid.
mean, it becomes a degree of like how much do you
Radio
care,
drama.
Yeah.
right? Yeah. No, I think that they're cheap, right? Like drive-in theaters are really cheap, and particularly if things stay shut down. Like, if you drive around right now, it is astonishing how much space we give over to vehicles.
Oh yeah, the U.S. has like the widest roads in the world.
Well, no, I just mean there are parking lots after
Oh,
parking
yeah,
lots
that
after
is also
parking
true.
Lots that are empty right
The
now.
the rideshare parking lots are
Just malls and like Best Buy store like area. Like there's just all
Big
of
box
this
store lots.
space, big box store lots that are empty, and how hard is it for a city or municipality just be like, we're just going to use this for a little while, or we're going to lease it out for a little bit too. I mean, I think there's opportunity here for sure.
Yeah, or you have like the kind of like the movies in the park kind of thing, or I've seen people online like setting up their own little like outdoor screens and such so they can have people over socially distanced and still kind of experience stuff together, or even just like with the Netflix party or watch party stuff that I've been doing for the last couple months and whatever, just to kind of experience something with other people and stuff. So I feel like there's a wide variety of ways people can still quote unquote go to the movies.
Yeah.
But it's just not in the same traditional sense of the experience, I think.
I think the key for drive-in theaters is that they need to start getting first-run movies.
Yes.
If they start getting first-run movies and they start coming out in drive-in theaters, that will be the launch point for those to actually start coming back.
Right. I mean, Bad Boys and Invisible Man, those are 2020 movies, but they probably weren't first runs.
Right.
What they did have, which I was surprised, is Toby Keith had a concert, or some country music star, and they were showing the concert at the drive-in.
Yeah, so
you had to like pre-buy tickets to get a spot, because there's only so many car spots.
And it was one of those like
Fathom events or
events. Thank you. Yeah. There's a question on that, Max, as to whether or not that kind of event can work.
Yeah, I think that's like the next level of that discussion of this discussion.
How do you do live music or that kind of stuff right now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you do the ballet? How do you do opera? That kind of stuff right now. Any of that.
Well, I mean, they just released the Hamilton video capture
a year early,
and supposedly, for people who are like well aware of how Broadway and stuff like that works, they record tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff like that, and they just sit on it.
So I've read some of the similar stuff, and they've said like, do not, if other things come out, do not expect it to be to the level that Hamilton is.
Yes,
because a lot of stuff is recorded, but it is recorded like your little
posterity
sister's dance studio recorded there, which is a single camera. Mounted at the back.
I've had
heads, right. So this was like that Hamilton cut is cut like a blockbuster. It is multiple camera shots and zoom ins and it's beautifully edited. There may be more that are there's probably more that are like that, but that is not the
it's norm. Not going to be typical.
It's
Yeah.
I will tell you this. As someone who is well aware of Disney's love for collecting and ensuring that their business,
The vault.
I was astonished that they had that done that early. So when they first announced it, I was like, wow, that's a really long time. I was like, they must be doing like some weird editing things to it or something like that. And they're like, well, no, actually it's ready right now. Like, it seemed like a very bizarre business decision to sit on that for, I think it was almost like 14 more months is what they would have waited for that. It was like August of 2021 is when that was originally going to come out.
Wow, yeah, because like the business model and release schedule of everything has just been disrupted.
Yeah, cause your vault thing is a Disney thing, right? False scarcity, but usually it's like, hey, it's now, and then they would have like it was very weird to build up for that long for a product that was clearly done.
Yeah. You know, build hype and such like that.
But I mean, does it like it's a Hamilton? Does it really need to build hype?
I don't know.
Like that would have been like, hey, guess what? We finished the new Star Wars movie, but we're gonna sit on it for 14 months just to make you wait for it. Like,
well, what was Lin-Manuel Miranda had another movie that just came out recently.
It was
The Heights.
The Heights. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it came out or not.
I don't
know
if it did.
So that might have been like, hey, we're gonna let this have its run. We're gonna let that, see how that does, build some hype, home video sales, and after that's died down, then we'll release.
I don't know.
But I don't know. I'm not a marketing guy. I'm not a sales guy. So
no, just I think the gist here is there needs to be a change to drive-in theaters to be first runs. If they really, if it wants to take off, they will be successful as they are now.
Yeah.
But the existing drive-ins will be successful if they are now. If we want to go from like 300 to 600 drive-in theaters, they need to start showing first-run movies.
Yeah. I mean, and they used to. Like my mom recalls going to the drive-in with her family when she was very, very young. And as such, had to see The Godfather when she was like 6 years old because her dad got to choose what they were going to see at the drive-in.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, and I also am hopeful that drive-ins do get. I think resurgence is probably too strong a word, but I do think that they're going to see some more just demand. But and your point's valid, James, about if they can get first-run movies, they'll probably do better with that demand. But I also think. It's the cost. It's really a cost prohibitive growth for them because again, if you get a first run print, it's an out of date term now. But if you get a first run of a movie at a traditional theater nowadays, you can show that movie every 2 hours all day.
Yeah, at multiple screens.
On multiple screens, but at a drive-in, again, you have to wait till it's dark. You can show the movie once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
So you're only driving patronage at your theater for 4 hours maybe. Right.
Yeah.
So that's really hard to do.
You could theoretically fit a lot more people in if you charge per person as opposed to per car.
Yeah, and that's how they do it at Ford. They charge per person.
Yeah.
And
so I will tell you, coming from somewhere, growing up somewhere where the sun sets within like 45 minutes of itself all year round and gets dark at like before 7, they had drive-ins over there, but they showed like a 6:30. Or like a 7 o'clock, and then like a 9 o'clock, and then 11 o'clock.
There were
so like they could get more in. To your point, Ryan, that's something definitely to consider because Michigan is your northern elevations just don't have that capability to do so, particularly with municipalities really enforcing noise violations. You can't show a movie in a neighborhood area at 2 a.m.
Freedom Hill, on 16 Mile. Close to us, they started doing a little bit of drive-in stuff. Quote unquote drive-in. I don't know if it was in the parking lot or if they just put a big screen up on their amphitheater and just you sat on the lawn or whatever.
Yeah.
But they had like 8 p.m. showings, so they must have done something like that.
They must be using the amphitheater then because they can probably do some darkening techniques.
Yeah, they put up some big drop cloth or stuff like that. I mean, if you're having the noise code violations and you do it through your radio and stuff like that. The last showing at Wyoming is at 2 a.m.
Yeah. No, I mean there's ways around it, right? But there's
So-
also it just becomes a level of annoyance for the
Right. It's also in this weird like industrial area, so
Yeah,
no
there's-
one's out there.
But to Ryan's point where I said you could see more of them come up. You're gonna need these locations that are capable of allowing cars and people walking around and concession stands being open at midnight or 1 in the morning,
Yeah.
right? Because just people being outside talking carries a lot of noise when things are quiet.
Right.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And also everyone beeping their horn when the movie's done with. The
Yeah.
equivalence of people clapping at the end.
Yep. Yeah.
So, for you listening in, let us know, when are you going to be comfortable going back to the movies? Or what do you think about this? Are you going to go to the drive-in? Are you going to hedge your bets waiting for that big release that you're looking forward to, whatever it may be? I myself am pretty disappointed that John Wick 4 has been delayed until 2022.
Yeah, I'm waiting
Yeah.
on Halloween Kills and Saint Maud.
Oh, yeah.
Which is,
John Carpenter was announced that that's been delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
So.
very excited for Tenet myself. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, interesting concept. So,
Yep.
we'll see it someday,
Yep.
hopefully. And then just Fast 9, because if that series doesn't end with them going into space, I don't know what's going on
Yes.
with that.
Elon Musk is totally going to be in the movie if they go into space.
Fuck that guy. Sucks.
Yeah, let us know. Leave us a comment on social media or send us a email, goodrewiewsbadreviews@gmail.com. I think that kind of wraps up this discussion on that. This has been kind of fun. This has been a little different. If you like what we've done today, let us know, please. And maybe we can find other little weird topics to talk about without having a movie involved and stuff like that. I know there's some people who just kind of like to tune in for our after-movie discussion. So,
And we thank you.
Yeah.
So let us know if there's something that you want us to talk about or just what you think about this kind of different format. Stay safe. And as always, please watch
And drink.
Responsibly.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.